If you feel like you're getting overwhelmed with your job hunt and forgetting things, it's time to get organized. I want to show you exactly how I organize my job listings, to-dos, and manage my relationships with recruiters during my job hunt. Hi techies, my name is Kim Barnes and I help tech-savvy professionals navigate and stand out in the Salesforce ecosystem, one of the fastest growing ecosystems in the world. Today, I'll be showing you how I organized my job hunt using an Asana template that you can purchase directly from my website over at store.lipstickandtech.com. You'll see exactly what it looks like in this video, or you're more than welcome to use this video as a guide of how to create your own. Keep on watching. So when you open it, this is particularly what it's going to look like. The first tip that I would give to any job hunter is to lay out everything that needs to get done and update them as you complete them. I've kind of divided it up by certain sections. One is just the reference section where really I give a lot of recommendations about some of the things that you want to kind of use as far as headers go. I want to keep track of all the conferences that I'm going to. I want to keep track of all the meetups that I go to, whether it's coffee day, whether it is with just a specific recruiter that are like more casual and less about the job hunt process. I want to keep track of all the companies that I really want to apply for that are on my wish list. A lot of the stuff that I described just now with how to kind of get started on the hunt, I've made sure to outline here. So what are the certain things that I know that I'll need? I'm making sure that I'm looking into my prep work, which is really, I'm writing a list of all the people that I have to network with. And eventually that will mean also polishing my LinkedIn, reviewing my social media to ensure that it's as professional as it can be. Of course, if you put in the additional 8 stuff, I actually give very specific explanations, but I can always cover that in another video. So if you're interested in that, definitely like this one, definitely make a recommendation in the comments. So the other thing that I wanted to let you know of is that I obviously have to be mindful of kind of the jobs that I want to apply for. I may not apply for it today, but I have to make sure that it's my to-do list. I made a bunch of recommendations for job sites that you might want to look into. I'm doing research for where I can find the details about what my ideal salary range is. And of course, I'm always making sure that I'm looking into the resumes as I go along. What do you use to organize your job hunt? Comment below if there are any other tools that you prefer to use other than Asana. One of the things that I primarily use my Asana template for is anytime that I apply to a job and I change up the resume, sometimes it's really helpful to use that resume attachment that I'm usually sending out to the application side or to a recruiter. I'm actually attaching it to the card that's in Asana. And so what that does is that it allows me to keep track. So when I hop on a call with somebody, I just pull up, like in an example here, I would have probably already catered this with the specific details that you'll see here. I would have put that attachment right here from my computer, or if it was in Google Drive, at least at this time, I'd put it there. So when I'm talking to the recruiter, I can tell them exactly what's on my resume. Sometimes the recruiter doesn't always know what's on your resume, and frankly, when you're doing your pitch, it's important to actually make sure who you're talking to or the positions that you're applying for. Sometimes you might apply for just, in my case, as a perfect example, I was applying to not only Salesforce administrator jobs, but also for business analyst jobs. And primarily the functions are different. So I had to make sure anytime I hopped on a call with someone, I was talking about the right things. There's no point about talking about your experience as an admin if they're really just more interested in knowing about what your people skills are or how you make decisions as a Salesforce business analyst. And so again, it's important to just put in your due diligence in that. One of the things that I uniquely do here is use tags because it kind of gives me a visual representation of what I'm working on. And so what does that mean? I made some recommendations about how to do different tags, but use this for what visually looks better to you, what you understand. If you want to create a tag like the ones I recommended here, on a Mac I use Tab T. and that'll pull up the section here with tags. As you'll see here, I've already created many of them, and including some other items. So as a perfect example that's not on this list is I had created a custom tag called temp work. So I can also make sure that as I'm applying, if I want to filter it out based on a certain attribute, just like I would in any other project management tool, I can just go into Asana and filter out, on a specific tag, or I can research certain things. Another thing to be mindful of is to not forget to log all of the job opportunities and companies that you're interested in, and to make sure that you complete with the details that accompanies that information. So I want to go ahead and show you all really quickly as a perfect example, assuming I'm already digging in. I've gotten these sections and I'm like, okay, well, one of my sections is that I want to just keep track and start immediately applying to jobs. One of the things that I did in particular is I changed my sections based on priorities. At this current time, maybe I'm not looking at my wish list companies yet. I'm just trying to put in like the job that I want to apply for immediately so I don't forget. You don't have to change these sections all the time. Kind of one of the things I really like about Asana is its versatility. This could probably work just as well in Trello, another very similar project management tool. Both available for free, but both also have paid services where you can set up reminders, and you can still set due dates in both free versions of Trello and Asana. And so one of the things that I put in here as a tag is a copy me. These reference things are really templates, so you don't have to constantly keep writing these lists over and over again. You would never want to do that. That would be crazy. So how did I do this? Let's say I am on a career website. In this case, I'm looking for software engineering jobs in LA. I'm using software engineering for the sake here, but most of the professionals that I talk to are looking for Salesforce admin jobs, they're looking for Salesforce business analyst jobs, some of them are looking for Salesforce dev jobs, but the concept and the workflow is similar across the board. So, hey, look, there's a really interesting software engineering job at Google. And because I put in LA, it's very clear that they have a position in LA. Awesome. Now, how do I make sure that I keep track of this outside of me just like applying? I'll get the reminders via Google, but what if there's a situation that it's a smaller company and maybe I want to seem really professional and make sure that I set up reminders for myself to go revisit that? I would go here and say, hey, look, I want to apply to a new job. I'm going to highlight over this, and of course do like the control click where I duplicate my case. Because I've done this so many times, I know that this was I'm going to change the name of the task to software engineer at, my company in this case is Google. I'm going to create the task and it's going to start loading it up. You'll notice, of course, that it's still in the reference section, which is not where I want it to be. And so I could rather just drag it into the section that I need it to be. Or when I click on this new task that I created, I can hit the drop down. And these are primarily Asana fundamentals, but I can use this to change the section that it's in. And great. Now that I've moved it over, here are some details that I put general recommendations for like what to start with. What I did is that I made sure that I always record the job link so I can always refer to it. In this instance, yes, I had a contact person like on there, but if you are cold applying, generally you won't have a name here just yet. Maybe as you go down the line, if you're lucky to get in touch with a recruiter, and this is not just Google, this is just across the board, you might eventually have a person that you are regularly in touch with. And so this would be the instance I would recommend that I keep that. So if for whatever reason things change, you move, get a new job, etc., you can always it's like a super fast way to hop on here and look for their name, their email, and just say, hey, update. And obviously for the greater situation of like if you have a question about your offer, you know, obviously you have that relationship, that contact number already, but it's helpful to have it in another place. I always leave room for salary research, not only for like what my expected and ideal is, but also seeing like what is the typical range for that type of position at the company that you're working for. A lot of this you can find on PayScale, Paysa, Glassdoor, etc. And finally, the last thing that I would recommend to all job hunters is to keep track of the resumes that you're updating. One of the things that I always make sure that I do, more importantly, is I actually like to copy paste the job description. Now you're asking me, you have the link, why do I need the job description? One of the really pro tips for making sure that I'm optimizing my resume and optimizing as I'm going along and having these conversations with recruiters is if that job listing were to go down, you wouldn't have any frame of reference for what the company is looking for apart from asking a million questions. And I have had a couple instances where I was just embarrassed because I didn't remember what they needed from me or like what they were particularly looking for the job, and I didn't take good notes. So what do? If you've backed up the job description, this is the perfect way to like make sure that as you're going down the line is whether you've modified your resume as you're going along in your job hunt, or the big reward here really is you can, if you get an offer, you get to reflect back and see, okay, well, this is the job description that I applied for. And if anything, it's a memento. Going forward, you'll see here like a couple of sections. As you're going along the hunt, I've of course made recommendations of like things you might want to do. You can always add due dates for subtasks. So like say that your call with somebody is on a certain date, maybe you want to put a due date for like that happening there, or you want to set yourself like a reminder that something needs to get done. Create a task within there and like make a due date so you ensure that you can do it. Asana is both not only on desktop but also on mobile, so it's especially great when you're like on the road and you get alert from an app and you're like, oh, I forgot to do X. You know, I really love having reminders and alerts my way for job hunt, so this was particularly useful feature to take advantage of rather than like having a bunch of reminders across like a variety of apps where I can just have my entire tracker in one place with the alerts, etc. As you're going along, you'll also see these additional sections: opportunities I've applied to, opportunities in progress, interviews in progress. I know unfortunately that you're not always gonna get all the opportunities right, so sometimes I like to make sure that I don't leave the opportunities I've applied to so crowded. And you know, if I'm just noticing that like I've been ghosted basically by the opportunity, maybe it's time to just drag it into the inactive opportunities. Inactive is not definitive, but I do actually generally put in tags if I was rejected from the position, so at least that way I can keep track and see like how many of these are just because I got ghosted or how many of these are because like, you know, they filled the position. So a lot of what I think I'm really proud of as far as my job search tracker goes is the fact that you can really cater this to you in your job hunt and your job experience. This list is obviously, you know, it's barren right now because this is the technically first job application that I've put in, but going down the line you'll see that this will grow. You can always clone this entire project because that's what this really is. It's just a project, and say you want to just have a record of this for 2020. Now that we're in 2021, maybe you want a board just for 2021. That template is all yours to take as you will and like be flexible. So I hope you find that helpful, and moving forward, give you some additional advice as you're going through your hunt. What could be vital for you? If you're interested in this job search tracker template in general, you can find it on my website. And as a reminder, I am also available to help for answer your questions about like what particularly is unique, I guess, about why I chose Asana and etc. I hope you found this video helpful and informative for the next time you're actively job hunting. Again, the template used today will be available at the Lipstick and Tech store. Link will be down below. If you liked this video, definitely comment, like, and subscribe, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.